With the best brand of football in Idaho, this is the 8-Man Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in. It is another edition of the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast, coming to you live Thursday night, September 26th, here on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. That's right. We broadcast live every Thursday night, 7 o'clock Mountain or thereabouts, 6 o'clock Pacific time for all of our 8-man fans. Welcome in. My name is Brandon Baney. The panel a little smaller tonight. You know, last week it was Will Henneke and Paul Kingsbury filled in. I wasn't there. Coach Lane Kirkland was. Well, tonight it's a tango of two. I'll bring in our co-host for tonight's show. It is live from Cary, Idaho. Coach Lane Kirkland. Coach, good to see you.
I can see you. I can hear you. You're breaking up a whole bunch here. I'm hoping it's not a solo night for old Brandon with my internet issues or something, but glad to be here tonight and hanging out with Mr. Baney. Coach Baney, you got any other nicknames?
You know, when I was in high school, my nickname was Bullet, actually. So Bullet Baney.
Bullet. Perfect.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. All of our 8-man fans that are watching, be patient with us tonight. Coach is having internet problems. I suspect I may be having internet problems as well. So let us know in the comments if you lose us or if you can't follow what we're saying, and I will try to get it fixed. But we're leaning on you, the audience, tonight to let us know if we're piloting this thing correctly or not. But otherwise, we'll get into it. The Idaho 8-Man Prepcast is brought to you by Ideal, Idaho's college savings program, along with the Idaho Transportation Department. We always start the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast with our game of the week. Just what was the most exciting game, start to finish, from the week that was? Coach, I'll be honest, a lot of the games were multiple score victories. We did have one game that was within that one score margin, and it featured an out-of-state opponent, actually. St. Joseph from Utah defeated Water Springs 40-36. Now, what was remarkable here was St. Joseph got out to a big lead. I mean, they scored 3 touchdowns before Water Springs could even get on the board. But Water Springs rallies in the second half, down 3 scores. They get a 40-yard touchdown pass. They get a 56-yard pick six for the score. And from there, the two sides played pretty evenly. Water Springs comes up just short, but unfortunately, Coach, they kind of dug themselves a hole early. They made a good, valiant effort, and if there was a fifth quarter, maybe Water Springs could have pulled it out, but they fall 40-36 the final.
Yeah, what a positive note to finish on. The rally finishing strong in that second half. When you get too far behind, sometimes you had not enough time to catch up, even though you could have if there was a fifth quarter. But a positive note from Water Springs, about 36 points on the board, and to kind of get things going at home, it looked like. And so defeating St. Joseph's from Ogden, Utah. I just looked up Max Preps, and there are 7 8-man teams is all in Utah, is all I could find. So St. Joseph's of Ogden is one of those. So kind of interesting, no?
Yeah, they've played Water Springs last year too, if I remember correctly. So yeah, St. Joseph's led, and they actually tried an extra point after their first touchdown of the night, which I thought was cool. But they led 18-0 at halftime. Water Springs scored all 36 of their points in the second half of action, which is just incredible. Corbin Nelson finishes 17 of 33, 184 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 picks. The stat line looked good except for the turnovers. 14 carries, 83 yards, and a touchdown for the Water Springs quarterback as well. How about this stat line from Luke Henry, like the old bus, Jerome Bettis, Coach? 5 carries, 6 yards, 2 touchdowns. Gotta like that production.
Oh, yeah. And that would be 5 tackles, too, right there for the opposite side. Yeah, that's banging.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Johnny Fiends, 7 catches for 58 yards from the receiver slot. He also had a 55-yard pick six on defense. And then Eric Barrientos had 1 catch. It was for a touchdown, a 15-yarder from Corbin Nelson. Eric Barrientos is actually a student at Clark County High School up there in Du Bois. They tried to do a kind of a modified 6-man schedule and play some JV teams like they did last year. But at the last moment, they decided, you know what, we're just going to co-op with Water Springs. It's something they've done in the past. And so way to go. A kid from Clark County, Eric Barrientos, catching a touchdown pass for Water Springs too.
Yeah, go Bobcats.
For sure. I have driven past Du Bois too many times to count on my way home to Montana when I lived over there in Pocatello. So, okay, so that was our game of the week. Water Springs falls in a close one, 40-36, non-conference game. That was the good news. What's going on in the rest of this Rocky Mountain Conference, District 5 and 6, over there in the 1A ranks? Well, Rockland and North Gem both lost, 78-6 loss for Rockland to Hagerman. North Gem falls to Garden Valley 44-12. We'll talk about those games when we get to those teams. But the one team that did win was Chalice. They beat Idaho City 52-28. And so the question I have, Coach, is how do we see this conference shaking out? All of these teams have pretty significant questions. Rockland has injury problems right now. North Gem has had a problem hanging on to the ball. They fumbled it a lot running that option attack. Chalice has been shut out twice this year. Mackey has only scored 32 points in 3 games. That's just 10.7 points per game. And Water Springs is allowing 66.7 points per game. They've given up 200 points total in 3 games of action this year. That is, every single team in the conference has a big question they need to answer here over the last 5 weeks of the season.
Yeah, for sure. There's a whole bunch of learning moments there to start the season for all of those teams. And nothing but improvement can come the rest of the season from each one of those ball clubs. Rockland was down to 10 players in the game against Garden Valley, or against Hagerman.
Yeah.
And still trying to fight hard there. So each ball club is going to have some quirks to work out to see who's going to finish on top as they start to play each other here now in conference play.
North Gem only has about 10 guys anyways. And then, Chalice has the most, but they have had a hard time scoring this year. And so it's going to be interesting. Rockland, I guess the nice thing is when they were quote unquote semi-healthy, they did bankroll a league win already over Chalice. So they are officially 1-0. Chalice is 0-1. The rest are 0-0. They haven't played yet. That changes this week as we look at the week 6 schedule. Mackey is at Rockland. North Gem is at Chalice. So conference openers for both Mackey and North Gem. We'll see if Mackey can steal one from a shorthanded Rockland team, or maybe the Bulldogs will get some of their guys back. Spoiler alert, injuries is kind of the theme of the show this week, which is kind of unfortunate, but we'll talk more about it as we get there. So that's what's going on over in District 5-6, that Rocky Mountain Conference. Let's go to the Long Pin Conference. This is District 3. We mentioned that we mentioned that North Gem fell to Garden Valley. We'll get to that game in a second, but we have to start with Tri-Valley. They continue to win, Coach. They're 4-0 on the season now. They beat Rimrock 50-6. Will Henneke, who's not here this week, still had a few notes for us. He reached out to some coaches this week. He talked to Coach Tyler Wagoner from Tri-Valley. Here's what he said. They knew they were a little shorthanded coming in, and due to some first half injuries, they only had one sub on the sideline by halftime. And so because of that, they decided to end the game at halftime. It was already 50-6. Rimrock had a lot of guys injured. Tri-Valley had a lot of guys injured. Jace Wagoner scored 3 touchdowns for the Titans. He's over 1,000 total yards already this year. And so this is a game where both teams are kind of walking wounded, and they decided at halftime, hey, we've had enough. And that's unfortunately becoming more common in the 8-man game.
Yeah. When you start with few and you get a few injured, then you end with less. And too bad it had to end at halftime, but safe for both teams, and more safe, I suppose, for Rimrock, who was very shorthanded. I think that's the second game this season where a team has had to end at halftime. There wasn't one up north, Lewis County, I believe, or Timberline maybe finished at halftime there. But either way, both clubs honoring each other's staff and rosters and working together to still play the game as long as possible.
Yeah, boy, at this point, can we get some bye weeks scheduled in here? Like some NFL teams like the LA Rams are already looking like, boy, we need our bye week significantly. And I feel like that's how it is for some of these 8-man teams as well. Garden Valley, they've got plenty of guys. They win 44-12 over North Gem. Here's what Coach Corey Hatch from North Gem had to say about this game. Again, he talked to our Will Henneke. Really impressed with Garden Valley's team speed. Trustin Brown, he said, was the best defensive lineman they've faced so far this year. If you don't know about Trustin Brown, he's a defensive end for Garden Valley. He's been starting since he was a sophomore. He's about 6'4". He's an absolute menace. I've been beating the drum for him for a couple of years now. North Gem did fumble 3 times. Garden Valley recovered all 3 of those. And then North Gem coach Corey Hatch basically said, hey, we like playing teams that are good, and Garden Valley's pretty good. That's a sign of respect from one program to another.
Right. And I talked to Corey Hatch as well over the weekend, and unforced errors in the first half. Guys just didn't catch those pitches tossed to him on the outside from North Gem. He did say that they averaged 8 yards a carry, had 291 rushing yards on the game, which means they only ran 36 plays of offense. And so most of those likely in the second half, where he was excited that they did outscore Garden Valley 12-8 after a 36-0 start in the first half. So good rally there, but a lot of respect Coach Hatch had for Coach Yearsley and the Garden Valley Wolverines, and a good opportunity to learn from mistakes and improve, as they have had issues hang on to the football because they run so heavy. So he figures they get that cleaned up, they are on their better path. And I mean, you get yards when you have the ball. So he's going to work on that this week. I don't know what the plan is. Grease the hog. I don't know, but squeeze it, catch it, focus.
Yeah, and an important game against Chalice here in their conference opener. And for Garden Valley, they're 2-0. They've beaten Castleford. They've beaten North Gem. Had a third game get canceled due to smoke, and so they're still they don't even have enough games to qualify for the Max Preps rankings yet. I know Will was bugging us over the weekend saying, I'm already looking at the Max Preps rankings. Where's Garden Valley? And I said, hey, there's a minimum number of games you got to play. You got to play 3 games. Garden Valley hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah, taken a while, but now they're on the board, and we'll see where they land with their wins so far.
Yep, for sure. In the chat, our good friend Sam Buffington says, you lost me on everything. And then just kidding. So again, that's kind of the call. We're asking for you, the fans that are watching tonight. Let us know if you lose us at any point. Both of our internet situations are sketch, to say the least. And so we're trying to go full steam ahead here on the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast. And hey, we also want to hear from you, not just about whether you can hear us or not, but as we talk about all of these great 8-man teams and players, we want you, the fans, to be part of the conversation as well. You can drop in a comment. We'll throw it up on the screen, because really we want to interact with you, the fans, as well. The week 6 schedule from the Longpin Conference. We finally get conference play underway. Tri-Valley is at Cascade. Salmon River is at Garden Valley. Horseshoe Bend is at Council. So all 6 teams begin league play this week. Coach, is there one of those matchups you're more excited to see than the others?
Let me check my notes here. I think
I know there's one for me.
It's a top versus bottom issue going on between all 3 of those games, but I'm going to take a hard look at the Salmon River Garden Valley and see where they're going. I think those young kids at Salmon River gaining some pride. I don't know where that game is located, but they seem to be rolling and doing well. We'll see how that plays out.
That's the game I was going to circle as well. I think Salmon River is ready to take that step forward. They've got numbers for the first time in a long time. They've got a robust freshman class that they're really excited about over there at Salmon River. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see how they do against what many people are saying is the best team in the league in Garden Valley. I think it's still Council until somebody knocks Council from the perch. But Council's also had a problem holding on to the football this year, kind of like North Gem. So we shall see. Let's go to the Sawtooth Conference, District 4 in 1A play. It sure looks like it's a 2-horse race at this point. Dietrich and Carey look to be significantly ahead of the field. Let's start with Dietrich. They beat Castleford 62-20. Our Will Henneke reached out to Garrett Estelle, first-year coach at Dietrich. He said Connor Perkins was explosive again, and that Connor is trying to put the bat signal out there that he'd like to play at the next level after high school. He could be, I think, a great defensive back in college. I think he's got a good knack and a nose for the football. Some other highlights, Isaac Ward, 4 carries, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns. Eli Weber, 4 carries, 59 yards and a score. Really, this was a game where everybody touched the ball a couple of times and turned it into significant yardage. Wyatt Snedden on defense, 10.5 tackles, half a sack, a forced or a fumble recovery. Jason Hollabaugh had 8 tackles and a fumble recovery. And then Angel Alvarado had 8.5 tackles and half a sack. Dietrich is a team that, we talk about the offense a lot because they do put up the points, but this is a defense too that I think people shouldn't sleep on, Coach.
Yeah, and it's good to see a bunch of names popping up here that getting spread around a little bit. The ball's getting around a little, and guys contributing. And they've always had a competitive ball club, and their defense has always been a mystery to kind of figure out. They always do some things different, especially against the Cary Panthers, that always moving guys around on that line at the last second to throw you off and make you miss a block. So there's still a lot left in that club, and I think they're figuring out who's who and getting geared up for the big one at the end here.
Yeah, and that is going to be our Gem State game of the week on IdahoSports.com coming up in October. Cary and Dietrich. That's going to be, we're going to have multiple cameras there, really give it a big production type feel. It's going to be really exciting when we get to that point. But let's talk about Cary. They beat Richfield 80-0, the final. Third time this year they've gone 60 points or higher. Preston Wood, 2 touchdowns, 368 all-purpose yards. Really, the yardage tells the story. Cary, 438 yards of offense. Richfield, -13. That's about as close to domination as you can get, Coach.
Yeah, I know. I talked to Coach's staff a little bit there and to Buck, and I know that they had some agreements before the game there and understanding that that's the way it was maybe going to go that night. And I've been working a little bit with Coach Sayuli on those kind of games and saying, it's just player dogs, like we talked last week, till half, and I think he did. And the love spread around as well to multiple players who scored that would never, ever touch the ball in some games, but out of respect for Richfield, still fighting, still feeling a great team, and still working towards some victories here later on this season.
Yeah, and let's not forget Richfield playing a full varsity schedule for the first time in a couple of years at least. And so Buck Hendren, he's been there a long time at Richfield, continuing to do a good job with those kids. Shoshone shuts out Camas County 60-0. I think, Coach, we can officially, you don't have to agree with me, but I will officially say I think Camas County now is just trying to build some positive momentum. I think the playoffs might be too far out of reach, provided unless they really run the table and knock off some really big, powerful teams. But for Camas County, too many guys lost to graduation, too many injuries, too many guys that moved, and just one of those years for the Mushers.
Yeah, might be time for some new goals for this season, which I think they have already established, and just finish strong, have a good time, and do your best.
Yep, for sure. Here's what we have going on at the 1A ranks. I guess I could put this up on the screen. There's our standings on the left and then the schedule of games on the right. So you see in the Sawtooth Conference this week, Richfield is at Dietrich, Hanson is at Cary, Castleford is at Shoshone. Now all of a sudden that Castleford-Shoshone game gets a little more interesting, Coach Kirkland, because we like Dietrich and Cary, 1-2 in some order. I feel pretty good saying a third team from this league is probably going to make the playoffs, and this Castleford-Shoshone matchup might kind of be like a little mini playoff game here.
Yeah, that's exactly how I had it marked, Brandon. I think that this is a third place game coming up, and I wouldn't discount Shoshone really working to be even a second here as the season progresses, as they do have a lot of kids, big kids, and new staff that's enthusiastic and rolling. This will be an interesting turnout for both these ball clubs and see where they both really stand. So I think it's going to be a good fight. That'd be the game of the week in District 4.
I think so. Now you'll look at Castleford and you'll go, oh boy, they're 0-4 and they're 0-2 in league play. But then you would look at the schedule and who they've played. I mean, they have played North Gem, Garden Valley, Carey, and Dietrich. I mean, that is, I don't know if there's a tougher quartet you can play right out of the gates, Coach. I could see Castleford, if they get a win here, that could really spring load them into the second half of their schedule.
Yeah, and I think that they're ready for that, and we'll see what happens. So Coach Lowry will get them ready.
Yeah, but for the moment, Dietrich and Carey both 2-0 in Sawtooth Conference play. Those are kind of still favorite A and favorite 1A, 1B in that Sawtooth Conference. All right, let's wrap up in North Idaho, North Star League and the White Pine League. We have some crossover games from the North Idaho teams this week, which will be kind of fun. Let's start in the White Pine League, District 2, because it's a little 4-team conference. It's Genesee and Timberline, and it is Lewis County. And boy, how am I forgetting the fourth team already? Deary. Gosh, how could I forget that? It's been a long week, Coach. The big question is who's going to grab control of this league, because Kendrick has owned it the last several years, but Kendrick's gone now. They're at the 2A level. Well, we got our first kind of glimpse into how it might go. First round of league play was last Friday. Genesee beats Lewis County 38-20. Jackson Banks, 150 yards passing. He scored 4 touchdowns as well. Cameron Holmes, 96 yards rushing, caught a touchdown pass. Carson Warner Hall returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown, Coach. That's always a shot in the arm when you can take the opening kick back for a house call.
Yeah, always. Those get your team pumped up, and you should play good the rest of the night.
Yeah, for sure. So Genesee gets the 38-20 win over Lewis County, a Lewis County team that's playing a lot of freshmen right now. They are some on-the-job learning for Coach Monty Madrell's Eagles. And then in the other game, Deary beats Timberline 54-32. 46 of the 54 points for Deary scored in that first half. TJ Byer, 7 carries, 56 yards, 3 touchdowns, had an interception on defense as well. Nolan Hubbard, 5 of 8 passing, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 carries, 55 yards, and a rushing score as well. So Deary and Genesee both start 1-0 in league, Coach. Is that how you saw it shaking out?
Yeah, I picked Genesee early on. I wasn't sure how that was going to go, but they're 3 wins now. I hope I was a big part of that, Coach. Both those teams are living up to kind of what we talked about early on and playing good football. And eventually they're going to see each other here soon, and we'll know which one's the best. So congratulations to both those ball clubs. A lot of fun.
For sure. And then over in the North Star League in District 1, Coach, congratulations to Coeur de Christ Academy, first-year program, only really like their 3rd year as an actual school, high school in Idaho. They're a Catholic private school up in Coeur d'Alene. They get their first win in program history. They beat the Wampus Cats from Clark Fork 54-26. John Danke, who's a great sophomore running back. I've seen him with my own eyes, Coach. He rushed for 5 touchdowns, caught a 6th score. He was our number 1 selection in the 8-man 3-Stars Awards this week. And so way to go, Coach Kellen Clemens and the Saints of Coeur de Christ Academy. First win in school history.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I'm sure they'll mark that one and move way forward and up after that great win. Congratulations.
Absolutely. And for Clark Fork, they dropped to 0-3 on the season. Low numbers, some injury problems for Coach Patrick Young and the Wampus Cats up there in Clark Fork. And then Wallace, non-conference game with St. John Endicott from Washington. They win 82-14. I think after they lost to Lakeside the week before, Coach, they were pretty motivated to get back out there and get to work.
That's a lot of touchdowns right there. A lot of kickoffs. Probably have to rest that leg. And Wallace, 82 points. That's pretty good. And that freshman quarterback is still rolling. Good job, Cooper Miller.
Yeah, Cooper Miller, 4 rushing touchdowns for Wallace in the win. Alex Grubbs had 3 touchdowns. Julian Davis, 2 touchdowns. Wallace, a nice non-conference win for sure after they fell to Lakeside for their first loss of the season. So let's take a look at what's going on in North Idaho. Again, the standings in the North Star League. Lakeside's 3-0, Wallace 2-1, Coeur de Christ 1-2 now with that win over Clark Fork. The Wampus Cats are 0-3. In the White Pine, Genesee and Deary both 1-0. Lewis County and Timberline each 0-1. And we have some crossover games this week, Coach. We've got Lakeside at Genesee. And then I know it says Court of Christ at Genesee, but that's actually Court of Christ at Deary. So you've got two teams from District 1 going over to play two teams from District 2. We're going to learn a lot about both of these leagues and really, Lakeside and Genesee and Deary. Where do they all stack up in the statewide hierarchy here? I'm really excited by these crossover games.
Yeah, must have been some spots there in the schedule that they needed besides playing each other a couple of times. And that certainly will tell an awesome story of where these ball clubs lay. And it's always good to see what's out there. So hope to see some good scores from all those clubs.
Yeah, that Lakeside Genesee game in particular, because Lakeside has looked very good early on here. They're 3-0 to start the season, coming off the bye too. So we'll see what they did with that bye week. So yeah, that's what's going on in 1A football this past week and the upcoming week, Coach. We'll take a break, and when we come back, time to dissect what happened at the 2A level. Lots to talk about, and of course, our new segment, we're going to go into the Coach's Corner with Coach Lane Kirkland, talk about injuries, an unfortunate subject, but one that every coach has to navigate through the course of a season as well. So don't go anywhere. You're watching the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
This year, help dreams come true with the Ideal Idaho 529 Education Savings Program. Our easy-to-use tools make it simple to plan for your child's education. With tax benefits, ownership flexibility, Ideal is the perfect way to save for college, trade school, K-12 education, and student loan repayment. Join us at our next webinar to learn more about the 529 plan. Enrolling takes just 15 minutes, and you can start with just $25. Visit idsaves.org if you would like to learn more.
Later.
Here. Girl, thank you.
Hello?
I was in an accident.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I had my seatbelt on.
All right, welcome back to the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com. Brandon Baney with the coach, Lane Kirkland, and of course, all of you, the Idaho 8-Man fans. Again, if you want to ask us a question, you want to give your favorite player, your favorite team a shout out, you can do so by throwing it into the comments section, and we'll throw it up on the screen, whether that's on YouTube, Facebook, or X. We'll take them any and all ways, but we'll get back to it here. But first, before we dive into what happened in the 2A ranks, Coach, we've got to talk about this really cool contest that's going on from Ideal, Idaho's college savings program. There's all of the details right here, but I'll also tell you what's going on here. Ideal and the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast are teaming up for one lucky prize winner to receive a $529 contribution into an Ideal Idaho Education Savings Account. Now, this can be used for college, 4-year or 2-year, can be used for a trade school, can be used for an apprenticeship, can be used for a graduate program, and so many more options nationwide. No account needed to enter, so you don't have to be an existing client of Ideal. But $529 to jumpstart the next phase of your life after high school, that's pretty remarkable. Now, the contest is limited to families with children attending or planning to attend a 1A or 2A school. So it's for our 8-man people only. If you're a 1A student or a 2A student, you can enter. One lucky grand prize winner will be selected at random from all of the entries that Ideal receives. And again, you're going to get a $529 contribution into an Ideal Idaho Education Savings Account. We will draw the winner on November 1st. The deadline to enter is basically just before midnight, October 25th. So you got about a month still to get those entries in. And for more details, you can go to idsaves.org. And yeah, I think it's a great, here's the actual link, idsaves.org/home/Idaho Sports. What a cool contest, Coach Kirkland.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. I was just thinking to myself, I wonder if there's a tally out there to see how many have applied so far. We could kind of to shoot out there and get this thing pushed a little harder and see those applications roll in here before the deadline, before your homework's due, kids. Get those applications in. Mostly you seniors, you wait till the last moment. But yeah, $529. That'll buy you a whole semester of books, likely.
Yes, I know a lot of parents watch this. Be sure you get your kids signed up. I know a lot of coaches watch this. Hey, you're in the hallways at your school. Pass the word around. This is really a really cool contest, and it's for those 1A and 2A kids only. And again, that's from Ideal, Idaho's college savings program. Okay, let's carry on with what happened in the 2A ranks this past week, Coach. Let's start with, it seems like we always start with the White Pine League, but that just seems to be where the most exemplary performances occur. Basically, we have this kind of hierarchy, this top four of Logos, Potlatch, Kendrick, and Prairie, and they all rolled. Logos beats Troy 78-12. Seamus Wilson had a basically 99-yard pick six, picked it at the goal line, took it all the way back to the other goal line. You know, we don't talk about that a lot. Seamus Wilson, of course, his first year as the starting quarterback for the Knights, but he is an excellent defensive player also.
Yeah, it's usually those guys are really intelligent there in the secondary. Those quarterbacks know what's happening, and to go 99 yards is a long sprint. I wonder if he got to sit out the next series for that. I bet he did. That's a pretty good sprint to the end there. I recall some long when I read this stat here. I recalled some long ones that we had here at the Cary School, and one kid had in the same game he had a 108-yard pick, no lie, and a 106-yard pick six all the way in the same game. Unbelievable. And then I've seen two other 99-yarders, but that's all the long ones I can remember. But long sprints, it's a long way. It's a lot of juking and no penalties, which is even more amazing that far down the field.
Oh my gosh,
Good
108.
It's in the back of the end zone. Yeah, I can remember exactly where it was. It was at Rockland. We had 6 interceptions that game and 2 fumble recoveries. And it was just an interesting turnover battle.
Did he play? Did the same kid play offense too?
Yeah, he was quarterback, just like Seamus. Yeah, Sean Hennifer, one of the old school guys here from Cary.
Yeah, that's a blast from the past, boy. The Hennifer name, that's a mighty one over there in Cary for sure. So, okay, well, so Logos gets the win, 78-12. They had 2 pick sixes, so Seamus Wilson's 99-yarder plus a second one. They had 2 special teams touchdowns, ran for 251 yards as a team. And in a lot of these games where it's kind of lopsided, Coach, it gives you an opportunity to not only get the ball to other players who may not normally get fed as much, but it allows you to work on different things too. You might be more of a passing team and you go in saying, hey, we're going to work on the run game this week because we know we can. It's a good time to experiment and work on other facets outside of your core strengths, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And opportunities to practice against a good squad, a varsity squad, someone besides your own who's listening to the plays in the huddle all the time. That scout squad is a pain sometimes at home. So you get those teams created and the script cards created before the game, and you practice that stuff because you know it's likely going to happen, and then your backups are ready, which is going to kind of be leading to our subject later this evening. So.
Yes, for sure. Okay. Potlatch. So Logos wins 78-12. They're still undefeated in White Pine play. Potlatch still undefeated in White Pine play. They beat Lapway 34-16. First half shutout for the Loggers. Jay Marshall ran for a touchdown, passed for a touchdown. A 34-0 lead for Potlatch in that first half. Lapway finally scores on a Joseph Lightfoot kickoff return. Kendrick shuts out Clearwater Valley 58-0. Maddox Kirkland 10 of 15 passing for 135 yards and 4 touchdowns. Coach, we know Ty Kep was an incredible dual threat quarterback for Kendrick these past 4 years, was a 4-year starter for Kendrick. I am still shocked that not one college football team thought they could use a kid like Ty Kemp. He didn't get offered anywhere. Like, I'm astounded by that. But I have had some people in Kendrick tell me that this kid, Maddox Kirkland, he's only a sophomore. He can spin the ball and is probably going to be maybe better than Ty Kemp when it's all said and done.
Well, he's got the right name to start with. He's playing for a good ball club. Played for a good ball club. I mean, the Kirkland signature products are very, very well established, right? And this sophomore is where Ty started himself, and in a tremendous program. He's going to have a lot of great practice of swing that thing, and a lot of mentorship from Ty and from the coaching staff that's already raised a great quarterback. So the quarterback machine factory continues to produce.
Yeah. Okay. So two questions here. I'm going to go on a quick tangent. A, are you related to the Kirklands from Kendrick?
No, never had heard of them. No.
Okay.
I did go to Kirkland, Washington, though, this summer, and I stayed at a hotel on Kirkland Avenue. It was kind of a cool place to go to, but no, I don't know any relation up there, guys. Sorry. We'll have to talk.
Yeah, you'll have to get better acquainted. Okay, my second question was, are you related to anybody involved with the Kirkland signature products? Anybody who goes to Costco knows it's Kirkland everything, and that's the best stuff because it's cheap and it's good. You related to those people at all?
No. Do you see where I am? You see where I am? No, I'm not. I tried at the hotel in Kirkland, Washington, but they laughed at me.
Don't you?
Don't
you know who I am?
Yeah, don't you know who I am? That didn't matter. Oh, pretty funny.
Okay.
Yeah, whoever Maddox Kirkland is, whoever the Kirkland family is up there in Kendrick, let's send me shout out here. Let's check that genealogy record. Maybe we got something going back to the Civil War or somewhere. I don't know. Let's see where it's at.
We'll try and track it down and see maybe distant relatives. Prairie and Camii, our last game from the White Pine League. This was the game I think everybody was most intrigued by. Prairie ends up winning it by 12, 50-38, the final. So basically a 2-score win. Dylan Eulencott, 209 yards, 4 touchdowns rushing on 25 carries. That is a man's workload right there, Coach Kirkland. 25 carries for Dylan Eulencott. Way to go.
Yeah, that's doing a lot of great things there. And Coach Hasselstrom, I caught up with him and said it was kind of a tale of two halves. They just couldn't quite put the game away when a 3 to 4 score stretch. They would get ahead 3, and then immediately Camii would come back and score another touchdown. So a great battle between both ball clubs playing defense and a little offense here and there. This will get Prairie ready for the rest of that strong league ahead, and Camii will have to regroup a bit. But some good stats from both ball clubs for sure. Yeah,
David Clute had 4 touchdown passes, 3 of them to Everett Oatman. Oatman also had a kick return for a touchdown. A lot of kick returns for touchdowns this past week, Coach Kirkland. And here was the key, really. Yeah, Camii lost by 2 scores, but Camii scored 6 touchdowns. Prairie scored 7, where that 2-score gap came was on the 2-point conversions. Camii only converted 1 of 6 2-point conversions. Those will add up quickly if you don't cash in on those, Coach.
Oh, man, I don't know how many times I've just done games by 6s and forgot about the 2s. They just never happen some nights in bunches like you see here in this stat. But those two matter when you get into these close games, and it did right there. Even though it's 12 points, that 6 times 2 is 12. So they could have happened there.
Yeah, interesting for sure. Hey, look at this in the chat, Coach. The man himself, Ty Kemp from Kendrick. Maddox Kirkland equals best QB in the state right now. Gotta love that.
All right, on. Coach
cool.
Kemp right there, the border.
Yep. That's awesome. Cool. Way to go. So yeah, let's take a look at the White Pine standings as we and we want to see more comments like that. Keep them coming, guys. We love chatting with you, the 8-man fans.
Don't you? Doesn't Ty have any homework to do or something? Aren't you in college, man? What do you? You always got time for football, though, don't you, buddy?
That's right. He last year Ty would pull up the 8-man Prepcast in school when he had a free period at Kendrick. He would pull it up. So yeah, he's a diehard. Okay, let's take a look here at the White Pine standings. So it's like we said, that top four: Logos, Potlatch, Kendrick, Prairie. They're all undefeated. Logos 4-0 already. They have played all 5 weeks that they can. They're 4-1. Their only loss was way back in the season opener to Butte County by 1 score. And so you've got Cami, Troy, Lapway, Clearwater Valley, all winless still, tried to punch their way up. This week, Prairie at Logos, Troy at Potlatch, Lapway at Kendrick, and the Upriver Rampage, Clearwater Valley and Cami. They're only like 7 miles apart. And it's a great rivalry between those two. And oh boy, we just lost Coach Kirkland. Okay, this is going to be interesting. We'll see if we get Coach Kirkland back here. But Prairie and Logos, Troy and Pot. So, I mean, that's the game. Prairie and Logos, 2 teams that are undefeated in White Pine play. Coach, we got you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Internet dropped me.
That's all right. Hey, let's talk about this Prairie Logos matchup. Logos, certainly an impressive team. Prairie very quietly is 3-1 as well, though. What does Prairie have to do to get a win over Logos on Friday?
Hasselstrom will prepare those boys the very best that they can to cover all those guys that are out wide and the switch ups that they make there on the line on offense. But they're going to have to be stingy with the clock, I think, and continue to take good care of the football and get those first downs. But a Logos team seems to be rolling pretty well, slinging it around and getting a lot of points and gaining some confidence. And I'm sure made an adjustment here or two along the way. So this is a great matchup here. This is the one I checked as the game of the week up there in this league, and we'll see how that plays out. So it'll be interesting score on Friday Night Flash.
Yep. And meanwhile, the sands of the hourglass are rapidly falling for Troy, Lapway, and Clearwater Valley. They are a combined 0-8 in White Pine play so far this year. These are almost must wins for these teams. If you want to have a chance to fight your way for a playoff spot, you got to steal one of these games. Troy at Potlatch, Lapway at Kendrick, Clearwater Valley at Cami. Okay, let's go to District 4. This is the Snake River Conference. We had, again, it's kind of a hierarchy here. Raft River, Valley, Hagerman all look really good. Raft River beats Murtaugh 72-44. Valley beats Oakley 48-24. Hagerman beats a shorthanded Rockland team non-conference 78-6. And then Glens Ferry played a non-conference game against Grace, competed well, but ultimately fell 42-20. And so again, if we pull up the standings really quickly here in the Snake River Valley Conference here, or the Snake River Conference, Raft River and Valley both 2-0 in conference play. Glens Ferry hasn't played yet, but they're 2-1 overall. Hagerman's 0-1, but the loss was to Valley, so we think they're all right still. Murtaugh's 0-1. Oakley is 0-2. And again, Murtaugh and Oakley, the 2 teams that were picked, tied for first in our preseason coaches poll, sitting at a combined 0-8 on the season, just looking to find a win somewhere. It doesn't get any easier this week. Murtaugh is at Valley. Oakley is at Hagerman. I think the game I'm most intrigued by, though, is Raft River at Glens Ferry, Coach. We'll finally get to see, what the Pilots can do against one of the best teams from their conference.
Yeah, those are going to be great games there. Glens Ferry holding their own, I think, against Grace early on there, and now we'll get in some conference play and see who they really are and if they can stand against the best in the District 4 right now with the Trojans.
Meanwhile, not much to report from that high desert conference over there in District 5-6. Butte County had last week off. They have this week off. I don't know if Coach Thorngren intended for the double bye, but that's what he got. Grace, meanwhile, is on break as well for harvest. So their bye week is this week. So we got nothing to report except for Grace did beat Glens Ferry 42-20 last week, but it'll be a quiet week over there in East Idaho. It has not been quiet in the training rooms this year, though, Coach. And this is for programs up and down the state of Idaho and from end to end. Injuries. And I know it's not every year there's injuries, but it just seems like this year there's just been a significant amount of injuries that are almost crippling programs. And so that's where we wanted to go with this week's Coach's Corner segment. Again, this is something new we've debuted this year here on the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast. We figured, hey, we've got one of the best 8-man coaches of all time in Idaho, Coach Lane Kirkland. Might as well tap into his expertise and knowledge a little bit. And so we kind of pick a different topic every week, and Coach Kirkland kind of coaches us up from the Coach's Corner. And this week, it's all about injuries, Coach Kirkland.
All right. I appreciate the subject matter here. It's always fun to put this stuff together and see where it lays. And once again, this is just from my experience, but it's always fun to preach a little bit and to see where we're at. So overcoming injuries, losing impact players due to injury is kind of where we want to head tonight. And, where do we start with this here? Some questions I always like to start with, just like in the classroom, is how do you replace these guys? What role do these injured players, are they going to fulfill now on your team? And how are you going to adapt the rest of the season, adjust, adapt, and achieve, as you've already sought out to do? And then what lessons can be taught in the end here as we replace these players and as our seasons go along? So kind of got a couple notable injuries in the college realm of things. Noting here that quarterback Cam Rising from Utah is out, replaced by Isaac Wilson, and still rolling at the number 10 spot. And Quinn Ewers is out from Texas. I actually got to see him play last year. And Arch Manning is in, and they're still rolling at number 1. So, what have these ball clubs done to not miss a beat along the way? Hey, on the flip side, we've got a couple teams here that had to end a few games at half. Now, obviously, they're short of players there, and it doesn't quite relate to those college examples above, but your roster size has a lot to do with that. But how do you replace these guys, right? How do you replace these guys once they get hurt? I'm going to give all the credit to the next man up concept to Coach Holloway from Lighthouse Christian, who taught me this phrase. He's a military guy. He was a great coach at Lighthouse. We were heated rivals for a long time, but respected each other a great deal and had a lot of dinners together in Twin Falls talking football. But the next man up mentality is what Lighthouse went by several different years, even I believe defeating us in 2019 with some next up man kind of kids that stepped in and played good football. So the question you got to answer now is who can do the job? Is it your ninth man? Is it are they physically, mentally, and athletically prepared to fill that position immediately? Are they the best that you have that's going to step in that skill position or on the line? You're probably going to have to move a few people around. They could come off the second team of your varsity and or off your JV squad. I mean, either way, you know that it's got to be your best, next best that can fill that spot to make things happen. And a lot of times in our ball clubs, if our rosters are small, they're going to be replaced by younger kids. And I'll share some examples of that later on here. Or if you're deep, they're going to be likely another senior that's waited in line a long time to be on the field as a starter. And now he's getting his opportunity. I know in a lot of these great ball clubs, teams that are amazing over the years, kids have had to pretty much wait in line. They would have started on anyone else's team because of their abilities, but there are already 8 guys ahead of them. And so now number 9 is up. So how do you care for these guys that step into these positions? I think you got to make sure that you communicate to them clearly their expectation, what is now needed on the ball club, if they don't know it already. I still think you need to visit with them and talk to them and be patient with them, get them some practice reps, and make sure you still demand 100% attention and effort now It wasn't given to him necessarily other than the injury, but the expectation is to still do the same job as the next guy that left the spot vacant for him. And then we've always tried to abide by the 3-to-1 concept, and 3 positive things and 1 improvement that needs to take place. So you can build these guys and make sure that they have a good experience and give you their very best. And kind of the question to ask yourself is, does the next man up even know he's on deck? Is he ready to go? Has he been notified? Or is he paying attention in practice? I think you have to wake kids up once in a while in your practice. I would say once a week, because you just never know when somebody's going to go down. Number 2 here, injured players. What is their new role? The big brother concept, I think, is critical. Like I say, generally it's going to be maybe an underclassman that goes in for you. And now you're going to be the injured player will be the big brother to the next man up concept, and have to mentor that person and have to teach them, and even become assistant coach, so to speak, from the sideline, maybe even in practice, as we'll talk about here in a bit as well. With some injured players this year in the state of Idaho, 8-man ball have become kind of assistant coaches for some of their teams and played some amazing roles there. And of course, the injured player still needs to be a tremendous role model for his team by being a practice. If he can stand, if he can hang on crutches, wheelchair, whatever it is, hanging out on a chair, whatever is necessary for him to continue to heal. But being present is important to your team, because you are likely a leader as a starter, and your team needs to see you there present and still helping you finish your season there. And those kind of guys on the sideline can be serious motivator, the rally monster kind of dudes. And again, flip side, if you are a replacement, you should likely receive the help of the guy you replaced as much as possible and give him your best effort. And I don't think I've never not seen a player give 100% for the guy that got hurt. That's just the way we work in this 8-man game. A lot of unselfish play to help their teams be successful. Adjust, adapt, and achieve here. You're going to have to make some changes on offense and defense in your positions. Maybe you are going to move your tight end to quarterback if your quarterback goes down, or a running back's going to go to tight end, and the next best running back slides in that might be a better lead blocker. You guys know what I'm talking about here, but you're going to have to move some people around, and it's definitely going to change your team dynamic as this season goes along. So here's a couple of examples here that I've pulled from here in our league that you guys can kind of relate to. So I called Dylan Waymire on the phone the other morning, and I just wanted to get his story because this is a pretty cool subject. And he was the driving force in a lot of our Prepcast last year. Butte County state champion, got hurt in the Kendrick game early on, and as you know, came back a couple days before the state championship. It was the first time he was able to sit back on a field, cheering his team on. And I said, well, what was the difference? And he said to them, you guys can win this. Go win this for me. And they played hard football for him and kind of in a way dedicated that season to him. And you as an injured player can become the same driving force for success as Dylan Waymire is. And I think that's a classic example in Idaho of what's taken place from an injured player and how he can help his team. He's coaching there with Sam, Coach Thorngren this year, and helping out on the defensive line. So what a great contribution there. I talked to Coach Woodland from the Pirates. I don't know of any ball club that's got more than 6 starters out right now. We know of 3 or 4, but this guy's got 6 out, and with most of them with knee injuries. And so what's his replacements? Well, he now has 3 sophomores and a freshman and 1 senior on the offensive line. He's had to change some offensive sets a little and the run game a little less, spread it out, and let Captain Baney, the senior quarterback, do his thing and lead those young men into battle and coach him up the best he can. One thing Coach Woodland said is those young kids are bigger and stronger and not the smaller kind. And so that is a great benefit because they're a little more durable that direction. And his philosophy on defense has changed. Bend, don't break, and just try to stay in the game as long as possible. And, Coach Woodland was 100% positive. He was awesome to talk to. He says, we still have the same goals. We want to win that conference championship just like we have the last several years in a row. And these guys are helping us to practice. The ones that aren't in surgery are there helping us coach up. And these young guys are gaining experience, and they'll be better in the end. So hopefully the Pirates can hang in there and remain healthy the rest of the year. I think 6 ought to be the cap on the year, don't you, Brandon? I think 6 injuries out. Yikes. Hopefully we don't hear any more from Coach Woodland on the injury reserve. And the last story tonight I wanted to share with is Dallin Hardy from Oakley. I went and watched the Oakley Valley game. I wanted to see what those clubs were all about there. And Dallin Hardy, 6'3" senior, his best friend Porter Bingham kind of talked him into coming out and playing the last few years, and he's senior as well. And this kid was an incredible receiver, an incredible defensive end. He was making the whole difference, honestly, in the first half for the Oakley Ball Club. Catching balls, it was taking 2 guys to tackle him. No joke. And he's such a big target, those long arms, that he caught everything and made a lot of first downs and a lot of important scores in that early first half there. And a tall, great defensive end. Well, he got his collarbone broke. His collarbone was broken and was not playing the second half. And you could see the team was pretty downtrodden because he was not present, as he was the heart and soul of the team. So I got a hold of Coach Jones at Oakley. A lot of you haven't heard a lot about Oakley this season, besides 0-4. And so I picked his brain a little bit and just let him talk. And it was really fun to listen to him talk about the young kids on his team. The first thing he says is, we are a young ball club. We aren't as loaded as we've been in the past with our upperclassmen necessarily. We're playing a lot of sophomores starting on this club. And they all look to Dallin as their leader. And when he went down, that kind of took the heart and soul out of us just a little bit, even though we continued to battle the second half. Dallin was their leader, and they all looked to him. Well, the feel-good story of the night that came out of that, Coach Jones related, was Saturday morning after the game. Dallin and his Dallin and his family, the Hardys, have a giant farm in Oakley, spuds and beets, I suppose, on there. Talked about thousands of acres, and lots of corner sets, solid sets of hand line remained in the field that he had to get out so they could begin the harvest. And so what does his good senior buddy Porter Bingham do? Apparently, I'll get to that in a second, but apparently every Saturday morning, the Hornets get together and watch film and prepare for the next game and kind of grade themselves up from the previous night. But they said, Coach, we won't be there in the morning. We're going to go help Dallin with those solid sets. And so 12 or 13 boys from the club showed up and helped him get all those hand lines out of the field of those hundreds and thousands of acres that they have in Oakley there. And, that's the boxcar brother concept that the Hornets have for their great leader in Dallin Hardy. And I'm sure we'll see him on the sideline contributing. But those young men will grow up, and I'm sure Dallin will cheer them on, and they will adjust and continue to play hard. But Oakley's not done yet. He knows it's a learning year, and he's optimistic that when those guys get up there, that they will be restored back to glory and continue to play Hornet football. But injuries are out there. Injuries exist, and we all have to deal with them. And we feel bad for those kids that get injured, but a lot of different lessons can be learned and taught in each of those scenarios. So thanks, guys.
Outstanding job again there, Coach Kirkland, as you were talking about all the teams and the injuries they've been afflicted by. It just reminded me, like, they've gone through this before. Like, notice last year lost their starting running back and fullback before the season even began. So what does Coach Joe Woodland do? He takes his best receiver and fastest guy on the team, Grayson Benitez, and says, you're going to play running back now. And he rushed for like over 1,000 yards at running back. And that's what you talk about. You have to adapt. and you have to change your style a little bit. So that's what Notice has done. I know Coach Woodland wants to run the ball, but you have to play to the guys that you have. And so it's nice to see them be able to adapt and adjust. And for Oakley, you're right. Dallin Hardy is a big, imposing guy. I watched him play at the state basketball tournament last year. He was the starting center for Oakley down low, and he's a tough guy to handle for sure. But that brotherhood, the boxcar brotherhood for Oakley is strong for sure, and lots of big farms out there in Oakley. So that was a great story to hear from as well, because you don't always hear about that. Like you said, oh, Oakley's 0-4. Okay, move on. Well, no, there's still a team there, and there's still a story going on there too.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, if there is a topic you would like Coach Kirkland to tackle in the Coach's Corner, you are always free to send it to me, Brandon, at IdahoSports.com, or just any thoughts you've got, and I'll pass them along to Coach Kirkland. We're always looking for fresh ideas for the Coach's Corner and the 8-Man Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com. Again, you can just send me an email, Brandon at IdahoSports.com. Well, let's wrap up with Notice and the Western Idaho Conference. Notice did get their first conference win of the season. They shut out Wilder 42-0. And so they got Western Idaho Conference play started on the right foot. If we look at the WIC standings, there they are, 1-0. It was their first win of the season as well. Really, Coach Kirkland, the games that count are the ones that are in the conference, because like we've said, looking at the Max Preps rankings early on, and, you know, Idaho City's 0-3 and Wilder's 0-3, you know, probably the only team that can really feel comfortable about making the playoffs is the team that wins the conference regular season title. So Notice took a good first step in that direction last week.
Yep, that's the first goal there. Try to secure that position there and give yourself a chance, and that's where Coach Woodland's goal is at right now. So you still have a shot at that thing, and we're not going to let go just because we got injuries. So,
yep,
take care of business.
And now they have a big one, maybe the biggest, this Friday. Notice at Rimrock. Rimrock is the only other team that has a win in the league this year. They're 2-1 overall. It'll be the conference debut for the Raiders, another team that is similarly banged up. Ronaldo Gomez, a dynamic talent for Rimrock. Is that enough? We'll find out against Notice. And then, you know, I always like when there's a matchup of winless teams, because somebody's walking out of here with their first win of the season, and maybe that can be the catalyst to jumpstart them. Idaho City and Wilder are going to tangle on Friday night as well. They're both 0-3, so it's going to be good for somebody. They're going to get their first win of the year.
Yeah, when the opportunity's there, you need to take it, and there'll be a winner coming out of that one.
Yep. All right. So that is what is going on in the Idaho 8-man landscape here. Week 6 already, Coach Kirkland, if you can believe it. We're going to be into October next week.
Yeah, October 4th coming up.
This is where you stop drinking soda and water at the games. You start drinking hot chocolate, right?
Man, let's hope so after this week. Man, it's been terrible. It's hot out there. This week's been terrible. Let's get some 40-degree nights going here and put on those hoodies.
Yeah. Get some football weather for sure. Well, hey, big thanks to everybody that tuned into the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast and worked with us through our internet problems. I think for the most part, we were able to get it out there. So again, big thanks to everybody for tuning in. Coach Kirkland, great job as always. Where are you going to be at Friday night?
I'll be here watching us play Hanson tonight or tomorrow night. So, yep. Okay. I'm going to run the chains.
Are you really?
Yeah. What the heck? Yeah, I'm going to get in on the action. They were missing somebody. Thought that'll be a good spot over there. What the heck?
Have you ever done that before?
No, I don't think so. Actually, I did. I did on a playoff game when Mackey played somebody here. I can't remember who it was, but that was kind of interesting. It'll be fun.
Cool. My dad ran the chains for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years when me and my brother were in high school. He said, hey, it's one of the best seats in the house and I get in for free. You can't beat that.
Yeah, it'll be close.
Yeah. Well, I'm intrigued to see what your assessment of Hanson is. They're a team that's kind of a relative mystery. So we're going to get an up close scouting look at the Hanson Huskies and Coach Toby Lapp next week. I'm looking forward to it.
For sure. Yep, for sure.
All right. Well, for the coach, Lane Kirkland, my name is Brandon Baney. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast. We will be back at it again next Thursday, 7 o'clock Mountain, 6 o'clock Pacific. I'll be on the road again. I'm going over to East Idaho again for a Friday night game, so I'll be driving, traveling, and so I'll be broadcasting from my parents' house once again, Coach Kirkland, next week.
Dude, you need to get a private chat or something, the Baney chat. As much as you travel, that'd be good stuff there. Maybe Paul will get you on the side.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I can negotiate that in my next contract that I get with Paul. Yeah, for sure. But then after that, I should be back home. So we'll rock and roll from there. All right, for Coach Kirkland, I'm Brandon Baney. Thanks for tuning into the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.